No, don't you dare point that at me. You point that at her. If there's a transmission in the ring, it'll interfere with the stereo. See that?
Why, Caroline?
The story follows two covert operatives who pose as criminals in order to carry out a highly sensitive mission. What they're dealing with isn't small-time crime. The success or failure of this operation could affect the stability of an entire government. So how do these agents pull it off? Let's dive into From Paris with Love. The film opens by introducing a young man named James, who works in France as a secret agent, while also serving as a personal bodyguard for the United States Embassy. That day, James was given a task directly from the US ambassador. His job was simply to swap out the license plate on a car parked in the embassy's underground garage. Assignments like this were routine, usually done to protect high-profile guests scheduled to meet with the ambassador. Although James had been trained as a full-fledged secret agent, he was growing tired of being stuck with these minor, low-risk duties. He wanted real fieldwork, missions that actually tested his skills. Still, because the order came from the embassy, he carried it out without complaint. Once his work for the day was finished, James headed back to his apartment, which he shared with his girlfriend, Caroline. She was a charming Frenchwoman whom James had met by chance a few years earlier, and the two had since fallen into a serious romantic relationship. That evening, Caroline excitedly showed James a dress she had designed and sewn by herself, clearly proud of her work. The next day, James went back to work as usual, acting as security while escorting the US ambassador to an official government meeting. Once again, his assignment involved minor support tasks, such as secretly planting listening devices inside the conference room. Later that evening, when James returned home, he was shocked to see what looked like blood splashed across his apartment door. Panic immediately set in, and he feared that something terrible had happened to Caroline. However, his fear quickly faded when he realized it wasn't blood at all, just sauce from food Caroline had brought home earlier. During dinner, Caroline surprised James by proposing to him with her father's ring. She decided to take the first step herself, since James still hadn't asked her to marry him. Just as they were sharing this intimate moment, James suddenly received a call from his office. He was informed that he would be assigned to assist another secret agent on a critical mission. This call marked a turning point for James. It meant he had finally been promoted. That same night, once dinner was over, James headed straight to the airport. His new assignment was to retrieve a fellow agent who had been detained by airport security. When James arrived, he met a bald man named Charlie, the secret agent he would be partnering with on this mission. Charlie had been stopped by security over something completely ridiculous. He had insisted on bringing a canned beverage into France. After James stepped in and negotiated with the authorities, Charlie was finally released and allowed to leave the airport with him. After they left the airport, Charlie suggested that they grab dinner together at a nearby Chinese restaurant. While driving there, he finally explained why he had refused to give up the canned drink at security. Hidden inside the can was his personal weapon, something he never travels without. However, the moment they arrived at the restaurant, the situation took a violent turn. Charlie suddenly grabbed a waiter as a hostage and opened fire on the staff. James was completely stunned. He hadn't been warned about any of this, and Charlie's ruthless, almost savage behavior left him shocked. It soon became clear that the Chinese restaurant was actually a front for a cocaine operation run by Chinese drug dealers. After firing shots into the ceiling, Charlie exposed hidden stashes of cocaine above the roof panels. He then instructed James to gather all of the drugs as evidence. During the chaos, Charlie deliberately spared one male waiter. His plan was to tail the man afterward, hoping he would lead them directly to the real owner behind the operation. Just as Charlie had expected, the waiter rushed straight to his superior to report everything that had gone down at the restaurant. Charlie and James quickly got into their car and followed him from a distance. While driving, James demanded answers. He felt completely in the dark and wanted to know what kind of drug cartel they were dealing with and why things had escalated so fast. Charlie didn't go into specifics, only assuring him that the operation was officially authorized by both the embassy and the foreign ministry, so James had no reason to question it. Upon reaching the hideout of the cocaine cartel leader, Charlie and James ran into a gang of local thugs. Charlie, displaying his exceptional combat skills, swiftly took them down one by one. They quickly pursued the waiter, following his lead deeper into the base. Charlie easily neutralized every guard standing in their way, while James, new to real-life violence, felt uneasy with the intensity of the situation. Finally, they cornered the cartel boss, who was casually watching a dance performance. With James translating in Chinese, Charlie demanded all information about the cartel's distribution network across Paris. The boss, realizing he had no choice, complied. With the required information in hand, Charlie and James made their exit. No sooner had they left than the cartel boss ordered his men to pursue them. A high-speed chase erupted, with bullets flying as both sides exchanged fire. Charlie, well prepared and fully stocked with ammunition, handled the attackers with precision, while James managed to stay alive amidst the chaos. Afterwards, James called his office to report Charlie's aggressive and unconventional methods. His superiors, however, insisted that he follow Charlie's lead and focus on completing the mission, emphasizing that this operation had the full backing of the embassy. The following morning, James and Charlie headed to the Eiffel Tower to continue their operation. Noticing James's nervousness, Charlie offered him a sip from a small stash he carried, suggesting it would help him relax. Once settled, Charlie outlined the mission. This time, their objective went beyond targeting Paris's drug cartels. They also needed to confront a terrorist network that was funding its activities through cocaine trafficking. Their task was to trace every drug distribution channel linked to the syndicate throughout the city. James was taken aback and anxious after hearing Charlie's briefing. Later that day, they headed to a known drug-dealing hotspot. To blend in, they posed as gangsters interested in purchasing a prostitute. While James was distracted with the undercover setup, Caroline, who happened to be in the area, unexpectedly spotted him, causing him to panic. He immediately berated Charlie for bringing him into such a risky situation without warning. Charlie reassured him, explaining that the goal was to gather intelligence on a nearby Chinese restaurant linked to the operation. During the surveillance, 2 unknown assailants suddenly attacked James. Charlie swiftly intervened, neutralizing both threats with precise action. After hours of waiting, Charlie spotted 2 male drug buyers leaving the restaurant and followed them to a residential building. Pretending to be gangsters interested in purchasing drugs, Charlie and James were allowed inside by the building's guard. Once inside, they gathered enough evidence, and Charlie aimed his gun at one of the dealers, prompting all the men in the room to draw their weapons. Upon realizing Charlie and James were secret agents, the dealers panicked and fled immediately. Charlie and James then questioned the remaining dealer to locate the head of the operation, Rashid. Unfortunately, Rashid was not present at that location. Next, Charlie observed bomb-making activities downstairs using a mirror. Without hesitation, he broke into the room through a window and neutralized all the criminals inside. 3 terrorists managed to escape via the stairs, but Charlie quickly eliminated them with a leftover homemade bomb. Before leaving, James noticed numerous photos of himself on the walls, realizing that his every move at the embassy had been under surveillance for a long time. Suddenly, the police arrived at the scene. Aware that the terrorists had rigged the front door with explosives, Charlie instructed James to take cover. Moments later, the bomb detonated, killing the officers, and Charlie and James seized the opportunity to escape in a police car. That evening, James returned Charlie to his apartment, where he had dinner with his girlfriend, Caroline. Caroline had also invited a female friend to help with dinner preparations. Just before the meal began, Charlie received a call containing classified information. Suddenly, Charlie shot Caroline's friend, revealing to James that both women were spies connected to a terrorist leader in Paris. Charlie showed James that the women's phone numbers were linked to multiple terrorist cells. Despite seeing the evidence, James struggled to believe it, having trusted Caroline for years. Charlie then pointed out the hidden listening devices that Caroline had planted throughout James's apartment. Amid the heated argument, Caroline pulled out a concealed gun and shot James, escaping out the window. Charlie attempted to pursue her, but she was quickly picked up by a car. Thinking fast, Charlie immediately contacted his partner to trace the vehicle using its license plate. The following morning, Charlie removed over 50 surveillance devices that had been planted throughout James's apartment. Despite this, James still struggled to accept the reality that Caroline, the woman he loved, might actually be a terrorist. Shortly afterward, Caroline reached out to James through a payphone to apologize. During the call, embassy hackers quickly tracked her location. She explained that 6 years earlier, she had met a man who had saved her life and influenced her deeply, convincing her to obey his instructions. Once the call ended, Caroline went to meet this man, none other than Rashid, the notorious leader of the terrorist organization in Paris. Using the embassy's wiretaps, James and his team traced Caroline's movements and realized she was heading toward the venue of a major conference between the US and African delegates. It became clear that her syndicate intended to carry out a large-scale bombing at this location. Aware of the imminent threat, Charlie quickly rallied his team to accompany the US delegation to the conference site. While en route, he spotted a car that Caroline had previously driven and immediately pursued it. During the chase, James called to inform Charlie that Caroline was not in the vehicle, indicating that she had likely already reached the conference venue. Indeed, she was not with Rashid. Despite this, Charlie continued the pursuit because Rashid intended to detonate an explosive near the US delegation's convoy. Charlie eventually caught up to Rashid's car and without hesitation destroyed it, preventing the attack from ever reaching the delegates. Meanwhile, James, now fully recovered from his gunshot wound, arrived at the conference venue. Security initially detained him for carrying a firearm, but the US ambassador intervened, allowing him access to the meeting room. Once inside, James immediately scanned for Caroline, determined to stop any potential bombing. Upon locating her, he seized a guard's weapon and confronted her, discovering multiple explosives strapped to her body. He attempted to convince her to abandon her plan, but when she refused, James had no choice but to neutralize the threat, resulting in Caroline's death. Shortly after, Charlie arrived and swiftly deactivated the explosives, ensuring the safety of everyone present. Ultimately, the conference aimed at sending aid to Africa concluded without incident. The movie ends with James and Charlie gearing up for their next assignment, signaling that James has finally achieved his goal of becoming a high-level secret agent tackling complex missions. The story also carries a lesson about relationships. It's important to truly understand your partner and avoid rushing into commitments without awareness of their true character. And that is how it ended. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and you can find this movie in the description below or our comments section. Thanks for watching.